One of the weirdest things happened while I was on Twitter. Shit. I wish I can remember the person's name to give him the shout out. But so you guys know the Peter Dinklage, right? The little person from
yeah, that's hilarious.
Yeah.
So
Peter, so from Game of Thrones. So he got an issue with the Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. He's like, dwarfs living in caves. Have I done nothing for the movement, right? So now it's about dwarfs. So the left-wing media has been trying to cover the story, but they're scared. They're scared to cover the story because they don't know if they're going to be canceled for using the word dwarf now if it becomes bad in 5 years. So they're afraid to say dwarf because they're saying we don't want to be like Joe Rogan. Like you could say the N-word or something in the past 5 years ago or 10 years ago that's an okay word, but then 10 years later you'll have a supercut of you saying it and then you'll be canceled. So now, like TYT and everything is like, how can we cover this story? Because everybody's calling him a dwarf, but we don't want to be caught up 5 years later with a supercut of us using the word dwarf. That's how thick cancel culture has gotten for us now.
Yeah, I mean, I think for a while it has been. There have been people that will say like, don't use that word. Use the phrase "little people." To describe people with dwarfism.
What word?
Which word?
Nice. Trying to trap her.
Here it is. Here's them discussing it.
Of course.
It's insane.
Lovely. The Young Turks.
Oh yeah, this is a radical right wing here. I gotta skip an ad. I gotta get an ad blocker, even though I watch the ad so I can pay myself.
Effective as well. But, there aren't a lot of roles for. By the way, I'm going to be honest with you guys. I'm going to be super authentic and vulnerable here. I don't know if it's even okay to say dwarf. Like, is that okay? I don't know. So, I don't want this to come back to bite me in the ass like 10 years later.
That's exactly what I was going to say. So look, I had the same question, and the articles clearly refer to dwarves. Will they later change the rule? Very likely. Will they then have video compilations of us saying the word and hold us guilty in hindsight?
Yeah.
Of course they will. And so am I referring to the left?
Of course they
yes,
will.
I am.
Of course you will.
And so it's an insane standard. It makes no sense. But since
that's what you're doing with Joe Rogan,
as things stand, everybody is using the word dwarf. I guess we will too. So you're going to hold us guilty later and invent a time machine so we could fix it as well. Anyways,
they sound like a conservative show.
Oh, geez, look.
I
hate it when he says they'll hold us responsible. You are the they.
You are the ones doing it.
Yeah. We will hold ourselves responsible.
Seriously,
we're the ones calling other people out for
it. Now I feel such a hunger to put together a compilation of Cenk Uygur just saying dwarf.
So, I mean, but this is the thing, right? This is the heart of the matter is that anytime we are looking at the past and ascribing today's morality to yesterday's morality, we're going to run into problems, right? Because we can't take things out of context. Sure, we can say, okay, it was wrong overall for our whole culture to refer to something in such and such a way. Okay, sure. But then you can't take one individual and say, this individual is a horrible monster for using this word. I'm sorry. You found their humanity. Congratulations. They're human, just like all of us. We're all going to make mistakes. We're going to say something stupid. We're going to say something that might get us into hot water at some point. You know, like
we might screw up the motion to dismiss standard.
You know, like it's just we're all gonna do something where we have to put our foot in our mouth and apologize for something, or maybe not apologize, but put our foot in our mouth at some point.
Never apologize. Never.
I know.
I do want to discuss.
That's exactly why I said
this issue a little bit.
Never apologize.
Okay, I definitely believe you shouldn't apologize to the mob for the sake of appeasing the mob. Correct. I definitely believe that.
I agree with that.
I'm not 100% sure about apologizing because you genuinely think you made a mistake. Because if you don't apologize in some way, you're giving in to the mob as well. You're letting the mob control you, right? So if I genuinely feel like I should apologize because I genuinely feel like I made a mistake and I genuinely want to say I made an error and I regret the error, if I don't do that, in some ways I'm giving in to the mob because I'm letting them control what I want to do. So I'm not 100% convinced on that proposition. So if you have a strong opinion, I'm willing to hear it.
I think that it's an interesting point you're making as far as letting them control in the opposite direction. That you otherwise, the implication of that is you otherwise would apologize, but because the mob is calling for the apology, that's why you're saying no. So let's flesh this out. Is this something that you recognize was wrong before the mob called it to your attention, or are you first recognizing the wrongness once the mob is coming with the pitchforks and the torches?
I mean, for my money, you could assume it either way because I'm not sure it matters either way. But if you think it does, then
no, of
course,
of course, it matters because
Like
I think that. Okay, yeah, fine. So first of all, if you're giving in only after, if you're recognizing the wrong because the mob, what is that? Oh, that's my son calling. He's calling from Israel.
He's like, we're getting our 5th vaccine shot over here.
Give me 2 seconds.
Okay, well, Joe will continue with his thought.
Well, you know what? The thing is, I think you can't be extreme on either side. You can't apologize all the time, and you can't do the other one where you don't.
But
there is merit to the never
agree.
apologize position, but I'm not sure it's the right position.
But that's where you end up with the DJT reputation, right? Where it's like you just you know to never expect an apology from Donald Trump ever. And there are certain strengths in that, right? Because you know he's always going to take a very tough position, and he's always just going to say, nope, I meant what I said, and that's it, or whatever. Like I did what I wanted, and I wanted to do what I did. And you're right, there is some power in that, but then there are some situations where it would have been much simpler if like the situation would have gone away much faster if you would have said like, all right, okay, maybe that was a little bit of a screw up.
So what I have to go because I take this call, but I just want to finish this thought, and that is, if you're responding to the mob by giving into the mob, all you are doing is you are emboldening the mob to say our methodology works. This is something that's effective, and we should continue doing this to the next person, the next person, the next person. So I think that there is a principled basis to say that even if you recognize you were wrong, that if you're going to issue an apology, you should have realized it before the mob came along. It's not like they should be calling this to your attention. If you really did something wrong, and you're self-reflective at all, and you look into like your actions, it shouldn't have been the mob that's awakening you to it. And if it is the mob that's awakening you to it, you probably didn't do anything wrong. It's probably more an economic decision or a fear decision. And what I'm saying is, all you're doing is you're emboldening the mob to just do it to the next person and the next person and do more and more of their stupid cancel culture. And they'll also take it as if that proves they were right, that even you're admitting that they were right. That's how they tend to take it, and they become that much more aggressive with you individually. So yeah, I agree with apologizing. Sure, we all are human. We all make mistakes, and we all do things wrong. And from time to time, we all need to own up to it, suck it up, and issue the apology. But if the apology is coming in response to the woke mob, that never ever ends well.